Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second round of the third season of the Wayports Racing League. I am Jonathan Palmer, joined today by Owen Harmon and Zdravko Topolniak. We're going to have 21 fantastic laps here of Westhill National. And Owen, I think most of us are fans of Westhill National, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, hi Jonathan. It's great to be working alongside you today. I totally agree with that assessment. Westhill is a mighty fine circuit. It would be probably the most realistic in terms of having it in real life, I'd say. Lots of fantastic curves, the straights, and it'll be a real test for our drivers today.
4.4 kilometer circuit for us today, Zdravko, and as Owen said, quite like you'd see in real life, lots of undulation here.
Yeah, it's a nice track. It's the track that I would build if I had $1 billion in my bank account. I'm sure it will pose a great challenge to all the drivers. It's a fast, tricky track where you have to be smooth and you have to hit your lines perfectly. Otherwise, you're visiting the grass, and you don't want to do that.
Yep, the car today is the XFG Ti, which pretty much everybody in LFS has driven. It's one of the demo cars. 1.3 liter inline four front, putting out 115 brake horsepower and a nice weighty, just about a ton of 2,076 pounds, unladen with such impediments as fuel and driver. It's a challenging car, isn't it, Owen?
Yeah, you would sense that the power going to the front wheels, that could spell trouble for the drivers if they're late on the brakes. They're going to go skating off into the gravel. But yeah, the challenge is definitely the cornering speeds. You'd want to try and keep the balance of the weight to the same side rather than having it lean or any of that, especially here at Westhill.
Yep, so it's the second round today of a 10 race schedule. After this, Fern Bay Green, then Aston Cadet, Blackwood Grand Prix, Westhill National, other direction for the 6th round. We'll also have Rallycross for the 7th round on September 11. And Blackwood Grand Prix reversed on the 18th. Fern Bay Gold reverse, and then closing the season at Kettering National reverse. So Zdravko, kind of a good mix of tracks for these guys.
Yeah, looks like awesome schedule. I'd like to drive it myself. It looks very good. Some of the tracks after this one will be a bit slower, so this is a good test to see who is fast in the fast turns, who is the smoothest driver in the league.
Taking a quick look at the Drivers' Championship standings here after round one, Mariano won the first round over Andy from Vertex at Aston, so giving him a 5-point lead here in the second round. Santiago for Vertex, Andy's teammate, in third. Ian for Lilium fourth. Valentina for the McLean Library in fifth. Wellington for the Bank of Wayports, P6, all on 8 points. Arthur for Atrium in 7th, and Eduardo also for Bank of Wayports in the 8th position. And taking a look at the Teams Championship with Mariano's win and Valentina 4th, 35 points total for McLean Library. Vertex 2nd and 3rd, equaling McLean on points right now after one round, so both on 35. Lilium and Bank of Wayports also tied for 3rd on 12, and Atrium on 6. So with under 2 minutes left in qualifying now, Number, you want to go over some of the lap times that we have?
Yeah, so At the moment, Andy for Vertex is leading the tables. He's looking strong today. He's looking very smooth. He posted 2 minutes 5 seconds and 51. Second in the times is Mariano, so we will have a repeat for a front two battle from the round 1 of this season. Third position is Santiago again for Vertex, and fourth is Valentina for MCL. So that's a good fight for the top position in Teams Championship again. Fifth place we have Eduardo, sixth place is Wellington, and seventh place is Arthur. We are missing one driver for this round, and that's Ian.
Yeah, that's a pity, Zvevko, but still 7 drivers turning up. Good number, has to be said. Just about to run out of time, so the drivers on track will be able to set their lap times. But yeah, it's definitely Andy with the ascendancy on the screen here. 0.3 of a second better off than Mariano. Those two will be certainly tipped to battle again today.
Ian is not here. He has a road trip with family, and wasn't entirely sure he'd be back in time. So instead of risking it, he withdrew from the round. So hopefully he's having a good day with his family. Time has expired, and looks like Andy will be our pole sitter.
Yeah, the run down to the final hairpin should be on course for a strong time. Braking at 75 meters. Just with this car, you have to wait and wait to put the power down, or else it's just going to drift wide. And it looks like Andy has the technique, and he's going to sprint to the line. Can he beat his 2-minute 5 benchmark and guarantee pole position? Oh, I think he's just missed it, actually. Oh, it's close. A 2 minutes 6.03 on that last lap, so no improvement.
Alrighty, just to confirm the starting order, Andy and Mariano on the front row, and then a duplication of the teams for second row, Vertex and McLean Library. Third and fourth, Santiago and Valentina. Eduardo and Wellington for Bank of Wayports will have the third row, and the fourth and final row will be Arthur for Atrium. What do we expect for turn 1, boys?
That's that's a mystery, I have to say. The rundown should be quick enough for these cars. They'll reach reasonable speed. Maybe 1 or 2 drivers will use the runoff area and avoid trouble. Yeah, it's turn 3 I'll be worried about. That's a very tricky turn on any vehicle.
All right, Owen. Well, if you're ready for the start, Owen, I think I'll let you call the start.
No problem. The wind speed 9 miles per hour. Can't tell exactly which way is facing, but our 7 drivers lined up on the grid. The lights illuminate, and we're green. Who's got the better getaway? I think it's even between the front runners. They're going to go single file here. Andy maintains the lead. Valentina's got a good start on the outside line there. She could potentially break that sequence we were talking about. They're going to drift off the accelerator for a moment. That's close. Valentina may have gotten into Eduardo's path a bit, but they're all safe for the moment. And uphill for the next curve. Yeah, side by side, there's Santiago is threatening for position. The 3 leaders neck and neck here. Now heading into the national section. Very treacherous series of corners here. Slow speeds, won't be gotten much faster than 60. Mariano on the inside, just misses the opportunity for the double apex. Yeah, great start, has to be said, for Vertex. They'll be delighted with this.
Yeah, and already the top three has broken away. They're already 3 seconds ahead of Valentina in fourth position. Mariano looked like he's kinda close to Andy. And Santiago makes a bit of a dive, but he couldn't capitalize. He couldn't find a position where to put his car into the turn to be alongside. So for now, Andy is leading, and it's quite even Stevens at the top three.
That dive for Santiago cost him about a half a second, um, and cost both him and Mariano about a second to Andy. So Andy's off ahead up there.
The Bank of Wayports team are side by side here. Eduardo's defending from Wellington. They really shouldn't make contact here. Looks okay. Bit of understeer trouble for Eduardo, but looks like he has held firm for fifth place. Unfortunately, Arthur in seventh place has dropped off slightly. He made a mistake just before sector 3, and now he'll have to try and recover his opportunity for position. Into lap 2 now, everybody. It is the top 3 with a fantastic breakaway. Andy should be comfortable. His teammate should do the groundwork for him here. In fact, he could threaten. Yes, indeed. This is Mariano defending firmly from Santiago. This is where if the drivers lose focus, they'll be off the track and significantly out of pocket with their time. But it looks like these three absolutely nailed on so far.
Yeah, at the moment it looks like Santiago maybe possesses a bit more speed than Mariano, but he still has to capitalize on it. It's not a big difference in raw speed, so let's see how he goes. It's very important to keep the speed up in this car. You can't dive and lose speed because it has low horsepower, and you need a lot of time to gain the speed back up. So the fastest way through the lap is to just keep the minimum speeds as high as possible.
Yeah, that is absolutely spot on, Zdravko. Yeah, Santiago, I think, is the driver to watch here. He is competing for certainly the best of the rest. Like Andy and Mariano from round 1 were the very strong battlers, but Santiago feels like this is his opportunity, and Mariano, in that double jeopardy, has to worry about competing with his title rival and defending from his teammates. So it's a very stressful situation. And unfortunately, Valentina, she is down a few seconds on the. Yeah, there she is in the camera shot, just out of the background there. She is a few seconds behind. Fastest lap there by Andy, 2 minutes 6.36. So Santiago is definitely my pick for the action.
Yeah, and they went 1 second faster this last lap than both Mariano and Santiago. While Santiago was a bit faster than Mariano, but that's probably, I think he has more pace, but he can't show it because he's a bit blocked by Mariano. He can't pass and he can't drive ahead.
What
Indeed, yeah.
is Stravko? What would your tire strategy be? Would you try to just push the entire race, or do you think you need to take a balanced approach to these 21 laps? It's about 45 minutes, these races.
Oh, with LFS, I think balanced always pays off. If you burn your tires too much, you're just gonna shed time every lap while you try to get them back into the shape. As Santiago has quite different line than Mariano in that turn, but it's not paying off on the acceleration phase. But for the moment, all of the top 3 have good tires, so I think the best for them now is just push to the maximum and not worry for the tires at the moment. If they start to burn, then obviously they should ease up a bit and not let the tires go over the cliff. That's what I would do, Deco.
And watching in car from Santiago towards Mariano, in the pink car just ahead as they come out of the final turn, a very parabolic corner, and then this long pit straight. In the open wheel cars and the GTR cars that some of these guys might use, or anybody else might use, you get great slipstream battles here at Westhill on these long straights.
Yeah, but definitely not in this car. So the best opportunity for Santiago, as you see it, is he has to correct that hairpin. He has to try to be a bit sooner on the brakes and then try to have better exit. That's his chance against Mariano, because all the time he loses there, he then regains over the whole lap.
We're watching on board still with Santiago as he comes back to that hairpin, and you can see his steering wheel work as he rounds these corners.
Yeah, it's
let's see.
almost endless work. Deco just constantly turning the wheel, left or right, trying to position your car properly.
Let's see how he goes this lap on that turn.
Again, Zdravko, that's the line he prefers to take, a lunge with the inside apex facing back out and in again. It does cost him time, but I think he wants to give Mariano a warning saying, I'm here and I want your position and I'll get it, whatever it takes.
But does it work as a warning if it costs him so much time that there's no threat of an overtake anytime soon?
No,
Yeah.
that is indeed true. Yeah, go ahead, Zdravko.
Yeah, he has to be a bit closer, I think, for that move to be a threat. But it's a good mind game. It's definitely a good mind game to try and put Mariano off, because it's easy for Mariano to be busy watching at his rearview mirror and just overshoot his braking zone. It's a hardest braking zone on the track, and it's not easy corner to get right.
But just pay attention for a moment to Arthur for Atrium. I'm very worried about the state of his front tires, gentlemen. He's got them into a higher temperature cycle than you'd expect after nearly 5 laps. It's just a real stretch to get this car working the way he wants it. So he may have to bow to the pressure and just get his mandatory pit stop out of the way.
I think he hit a wall somewhere, because he has a bit of damage, well, a bit more damage on his left front side. So maybe a pit stop with repairs would be a good option for him. I also noticed that he has road normal rear tires, while everybody else uses hybrids for rear tires. On this car, with all the weight, with the drive on the front wheels, you want hybrids for the rears, because they don't work as much and you want to keep the temperatures up. And at the moment, Arthur has hot fronts and cold rears.
He's also got a lot of fuel in the tank, so he probably wanted to go long all the way to the finish, but if his road normals can't cope, or with the rear wheels, then yeah, that's a real stress, has to be considered. Yeah, it's just a difficult run for him. We're now focused on Valentina. She is hanging comfortable in fourth, but she knows she'd be wanting to battle with her teammates, rivals, Andy and Santiago. But sensible drive so far. I wouldn't complain too much.
Yeah, speaking of fuel, Santiago could go longer than Mariano before their pit stop. So maybe if he can keep close, or maybe he can jump him over the pit stops. A bit of strategy could come into play. Or
Yeah, Valentina has a similar fuel load further down the track, so I'd say they'll be competing on a similar stop strategy. But yeah, Santiago would definitely be pleased so far. Maybe he's dropped off a little bit, but not out of the woods yet.
Andy just set fastest lap, his previous lap, with a 2:05.58, and has increased to a 3.5-second gap over Mariano. And Mariano's clubbed out a nearly 7-second gap. Seven seconds to Andy, about 3.5 to Mariano. So Santiago has some work to do to catch up to Mariano, as Arthur for Atrium makes his compulsory pit stop here on the 6th lap.
I think that's just to repair the damage, folks. Don't see his tires change, so maybe he knows a bit more about them than I do. He could get them cooled down and make it to the end, but he's going to be lapped. Yeah, he's on the pit exit blend line, and the top three are going to lap him. So he's probably thinking ahead and not wanting to be blue flagged on the circuit. So he's just taking it easy and letting them all go. Yeah, so Mariano overtakes Arthur and Santiago as well. There you go.
Yeah, that's a good place to fill in. So now he has a bit of a clean track to drive without having to take care about leaders and letting them go.
This is Bank of Wayports Eduardo in the top five, but he will be 12 seconds back on Valentina, now 13. So he's a smooth enough driver. His lap times won't set the times alight, but bit of a drift there on the front wheels. That won't do him good. But yeah, he does have the measure over his teammate, and he's just hoping to see how the next third of the race develops. Yeah, that's starting to let him down there. The rearward grip, it's causing him to drift.
I'd give him style points.
Going.
Definitely looks nice. It's not the fastest way around the track, but definitely looks nice. It could be setup issue.
Bit of a mistake there at turn 4.
Yeah, it's a very punishing portion of Westhill. This one, if you go wide on one corner, you've missed the next two.
Yeah, and then you have dirty tires for the next two as well. So only in first sector he lost 3 seconds to Valentina.
Eduardo's Bank of Wayports teammate Wellington here in 6th place, working his way around. Best lap of 2:12.79 so far.
Yeah, Wellington has a bit of bother with his front tires. They're all red, so yeah, as we see it, he has to search for the grip, and the grip is just not coming. So the tire is definitely over the cliff, and now it's survival time for few laps until they get a bit cooler. So the main priority for him should be just not to crash at the moment and just get the tires back under the control.
What sort of things can these drivers do to get the tires cooled? You still have to keep some sort of pace, but is there a different line you can take? Is it just back off a little earlier, or what's the best way?
In this car, I would say regarding the lines on the track, the fastest line will always be the fastest line. So you want to stick to it. You want to hit your apexes. You want to hit your braking points. But when you have tires that don't offer enough grip, then you just have to adjust your braking points tiny bit, not a lot, and maybe just go like 5 kph slower in the apexes. That will help a lot. You don't have to like slow down massively. If you just slow down a bit and try to be as smooth as possible on the steering, and very important on this car, on the throttle application. You can't just go into the turn, put on steering lock, and press the throttle fully. You just have to kind of feather it, wait for the grip to build up in the tires, and then you can go. Uh, in that way, you can like not lose a lot of time and still get tires back into the control. Then once they are cool off, you can start pushing more.
Very good. Watching from onboard Mariano, he's kind of closed back in on Andy by about a third to a half of a second. That gap is ebbing and flowing, but I wonder. Well, let's wonder, gentlemen, if we'll see a difference in strategy between Mariano and Andy. Whether it's one's better in a longer run versus a short run.
But overall, for me, it looks like Mariano has like tiny bit better tires, maybe a bit more optimized setup, but it shouldn't matter that much. Uh, it's a it's a challenging track, so Andy has to think hard about not losing focus because one little mistake could mean that and Mariano is right on his tail again.
Yeah, that's the threat of being the leader. Even if you have a comfortable lead, it can all be taken away in a moment, and you'll be keen to learn from this experience and be able to do it on a regular basis as the reigning champion in the Division 1. So this will definitely boost his confidence.
Yeah, at the moment, this lap, actually, Santiago, the driver in third place, has the fastest split to time. And I was watching him this lap, and he's starting to nail that hairpin. He's not overshooting it anymore, and that's gonna. If he keeps driving like this, he should come closer to top two.
So we've mentioned there's a compulsory pit stop. A very short pit lane here, but hard breaking in as Mariano boxes in.
Yeah, this is a crucial moment for the race. The Vertex duo will respond to this. Mariano, I think, had enough fuel.
Santiago's
Yeah,
in just
Santiago
behind.
does respond, actually, yeah. Now, Andy on fuel will be able to possibly go one more lap, and then we definitely have to pit. So this is the key point of his race. If he can do a solid job as his tires and fuel start to reach the point of expiry, and he'll be able to ensure the undercut doesn't work.
And now it's all about outlap for Mariano, as he increased his advantage over Santiago in the pits. So the McLean library pit crew is better prepared than Vertex 1.
It's a big braking ask into the pit lane here. And obviously you want to try and gain as much time as a pit entry as you can, but isn't it kind of easy here compared to a lot of other LFS tracks to get a drive through for speeding coming to the pit lane?
Definitely, it's you're on a high speed, and it kind of looks like you have space, but it's a very short pit entry, and if you miss your braking zone point by a little, as we have Andy, Well, will he
Looking
stay
like it, but no, he's going to try one more lap, see if he can't
He's
knock out
playing
a couple
us.
fast ones to try and increase the gap to Mariano.
Well, he has fuel for one more lap, and it could be touch and go with fuel. But I'm sure he calculated it through, so it should be enough.
We'll watch on board with Andy for this lap, which we assume will be his in lap to pit lane as he comes out of turn number 2 now and climbs up the hill towards the long left-hander of turn number 3.
And Valentina turns into the pit lane. She will avoid the speeding penalty and into one of the earlier boxes. So Eduardo may not be able to catch her even with the pit stop in the pocket. So yeah, she's ready to go for her second stint. And fourth place should be comfortably hers.
Through turn 5, 6, exit of 6, Andy going a bit wide onto the grass, so that might cost him a half second or so.
Yeah, it looks like he will be cleared on the fuel, but we expect him to pit this lap.
Yeah, 100% Revco. This is the moment. It's just at halfway, minus a little bit. But yeah, it's perfectly strategized here by Andy, I think. Wellington turns into the pits, which is a good call. But he doesn't change the tires, just gets on the fuel he needs to make it to the end.
Yeah, now it gets interesting. Andy lost 8/10 of a second in second sector to Mariano with that mistake.
Yep.
See
Andy
brakes.
pits in. And as he comes to a stop about midway up the pit lane, it's box. Mariano coming into the final corner now. Andy starts on his roll again, slugging down the pit lane at 80 kilometers an hour. Watch the background for Mariano.
Yeah, it's job done for Andy. Mariano. We'll calculate this properly into the next sector viewers, but it should be about 7 or 8 seconds. That's a fantastic job for Andy. He just has to get the job done. It's about 5 seconds. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, and Santiago lost a further 2 seconds this lap to Mariano, so he's 11 seconds back. So now with the pit stops done, it's all about how fast can Mariano go. He has no strategy options left, so now it's just flat out push and see how fast you can go compared to your competitor.
Yeah, all you can do is focus on your own race at this point and see what happens. And we do have Eduardo in the pit box. He's the last to need to make a stop. Again, it's another case of he's actually needing he needs some repairs. Actually, that's a good observation. If those repairs can finish up about now, he should remain ahead of his teammate. But it might be too little, too late. Wellington should gain on Eduardo here. The speed advantage, he's going to hit 100 miles per hour now. So yeah, that's definite position change. Wellington through into fifth.
Mariano coming out of the final corner onto the pit straight. That little black dot way up in the distance is Andy. We saw earlier in the race that Andy was quite larger in the screen, but after the pit stop sequence, Andy pulled out another 2 seconds or so. Gap is 4.96 at this lap.
Yeah, now it's go time for both of them as Andy pulls out 3/10 in last sector over Mariano.
Let's watch Mariano for the rest of this lap and see how he handles from in-car. You all can see his steering motions.
So he goes through the slow turns. Now this is a straightforward full speed, just touch the apex. He doesn't go wide to the curbs, so not using all the track. The big braking here, starts to brake, does it nicely without lockup. Stays in the second gear, doesn't go wide all the way to the curb. Now this one is downhill, a little bit of braking, one downshift, and floor it through the curbs. Nicely done. Now there's a long straight where he can catch his breath and think about the next braking zone. The most important braking zone, because after that you have 30 seconds flat out, and the speed that you bring to that straight is the speed that you carry all the way through. He goes a bit wide, doesn't exactly hit the apex, but extends the track nicely onto the curbs, go to the second apex, and off he goes away to the start finish line. He's hitting the apexes nicely. I wonder how Andy is doing, because he's doing faster laps.
Now we
Oh,
switch on board to number one. It's Andy. He has lap traffic coming up, but he'll have to maintain focus into the uphill left-hander. Yeah, he shifts down just in time to counteract the understeer. And now this is the make or break portion of the lap. Keeps hold in fifth gear. Nicely done. 80 miles per hour before the next braking zone. And he chooses to keep it in third gear, down to second just there. Now we have a slight double apex coming up. Keeping the wheel nicely turned. And now we'll see how he compares with Mariano here. Again, very similar, but he must have a little bit more confidence in the cornering speeds, either shifting up or shifting down. Oh, there it goes. One of the bank of Wayports. It's Eduardo, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, again, the technique between our top two is very similar, but we're not going to see it develop into this tricky right-hander, as Andy couldn't move up in the fourth, but he's through safely. He can now worry about the final hairpin coming up. It feels like it goes on for ages. You can't see the curvature of the road until late. Now he has braking markers ahead. Waits to bring down to third, gets on the power right on time, and he's away to complete lap 14.
Eduardo, just ahead of Mariano now, doing a very good job of avoiding causing undue delay or grief to Andy. Mariano will catch him in the first couple of corners here, and Eduardo looks like he will yield again. It's a very good blue flagging behavior. For him, that gap is just under 5 seconds, Mariano, to Andy. Take a look at Santiago, running third for Vertex. As things run right now, it's a good gain for Vertex over McLean Library for the team's championship. But Santiago coming through turn number 1, 15 seconds now, 15 and a half behind Mariano in second place. So looks like Santiago unable to capitalize here in the middle portion of today's run.
Yeah, he certainly had his moments, Deco. He just couldn't find that opportunity to overtake Mariano. we thought maybe one of those dive bombs he liked to perform in the national section would put Mariano off. It didn't matter this time around, but he has a long deficit over Valentina. So all he has to do is stay calm and wrap up this third place.
Taking a look at Valentina for McLean Library, heading into turn number 2, 45 seconds off of third place, over a minute behind the race lead. By the way, thank you all for joining us here for the second round of Wayports Racing League. From Westhill National, I'm Jonathan Palmer, along with Owen Harmon and Zdravko Topolnak. And we've had a very good race so far. Some great technical racing today, with the gaps and strategy coming into play. Andy leading from Mariano. So the Vertex and McLean Library battle rages on here in the third season of the Wayports Racing League.
Yeah, it looks like Andy and Mariano are trading laps. Last lap, Andy was half a second faster. The lap before that, Mariano was half a second faster than Andy. They're kind of in the similar bracket, but as times kind of yo-yo, a bit up and down, the difference between them goes a bit up, then a bit down. While all that time Santiago is losing almost 2 seconds per lap compared to those two, so he has to regroup and refocus a bit, because he showed at the start of the race that he's able to keep pace with the top two.
Yeah, still a long way to go in season 3 in Wayports. So even if the top two feel very strong here, Santiago should be. Oh, he's distracted by Eduardo. That's unlucky. Eduardo having a difficult time in the early Sector 2 series of bends. So Santiago, if he had dreams of second place on merit, it's not going to happen now. This is just too much of a delay. But Eduardo doing his best now, getting onto the curb on the outside. That'll complete his blue flag obligation. But yeah, my point was Santiago has tracks he likes further into the championship, then victory may be within reach. You never know.
Yeah, liking the track actually has a big effect on driver's speed. So yeah, if somebody is faster on this track, it doesn't mean they will be faster whole season.
Eduardo, oh dear, that's another wide into the final corner. At least the runoff area is vast and plentiful there, so we can carry on. But Wellington will still need to be caught by Santiago for the lapping down. So Wellington definitely has the advantage in the Bank of Wayports inter-team competition.
Yeah, Eduardo lost it while repairing in the pits. He was ahead of Wellington at the start of the race, and he has faster best lap, but at the moment he's a bit of a bother with his grip. His tires are probably a bit hotter than he would like, and there's not enough grip on the track for him, so he has to adjust his speed a tiny bit. As we see him going wide again, and the grass isn't the fastest way around this track.
Unfortunately not. Braking is almost like being on ice for these cars. When they touch the grass, they'll just go sliding. Yeah, that's a prime example. Unfortunately, when he hits the grass, the grip disappears and he goes far wider than you'd want to be. So I think now Eduardo just needs to. Oh, Arthur's in Spot Bother too. So for these two drivers, 6th and 7th, I think it's just a matter of resetting the systems and trying to get these cars to the end in the best shape possible. Yeah, Arthur was putting in personal bests for his own records, but unfortunately, I think his mojo is gone a little bit. Someone else will be catching to lap him. I think it is Eduardo himself, actually. So, yeah.
And Arthur's front tires are roasting now, even more so than they were earlier in the race. So he's going to be very much so struggling for grip on the front end.
Santiago has now lapped Wellington, so that possibility of headache for Santiago is gone. So he has the whole sector 1 to himself nearly as the lead pair continue to hammer home the point that they are the top pairings in Wayports as of right now.
Well, at the moment, we might have a battle for 5th position because with that Wellington excursion over the grass at the last turn, he lost 3 seconds to Eduardo, and the difference is now only 7 seconds. So with 4 laps to go, Eduardo has to make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes. As Arthur ahead of him goes into the wall.
He just missed the retaining wall.
Yeah, but Eduardo also goes wide on the grass. It's a tricky car. You go on the grass once and you think, okay, now I'm on the road, but tires don't hold that well when they're dirty, and the corners that were before full throttle suddenly become challenging. So the goal here is to just keep out of the grass, keep tires clean, and then the grip will come.
That's it indeed, Zdravko. It's the head games. It's just as important as your physical abilities. So you just have to realize if your day is not going well, there's still the opportunity to avoid it ending in disappointment. So yeah, just for those guys, they have to see how they fare and just get to the end as best they can. Valentina is on the camera view here, taking the unorthodox line. Yeah, that's going to go wide a little bit for her. No harm done.
Valentina's just been quietly plugging away lap after lap. She's not the fastest, not the slowest, but she's doing a consistent race. So she's been able to avoid most of the dramas of going off the course. Unfortunately, hasn't really had anyone to battle with, but she's been able to work on her consistency.
Yeah, and indeed, Eduardo, his best lap time is a 2-minute 9.98. Valentina's a 2.9.2. So it goes to show you, Eduardo could have had the pace, but Valentina's consistency around Westhill far stronger. And that is giving her the 4th place at a canter, really. She's well ahead of Wellington.
Yeah, if you look at it, they have very similar fastest laps. But the difference between Valentina and Eduardo is 1.5 minutes. So that's all lost in grass excursions and incidents. That just shows how much faster it is when you manage to avoid going off, like Valentina is doing today.
Take a look at Mariano again, Valentina's teammate from the McLean Library, as he and Andy have rounded the final corner, and we'll see 2 laps to go this time. The gap is increased to 6.5 seconds from Mariano to Andy.
Mariano did do 3/10 faster lap this time around, and he pulled 28 seconds of Santiago. Remember, Santiago was like 3 seconds behind at the pit stops. So that's a massive stint by Mariano after the pit stops.
Absolutely a massive swing in the favor of Mariano. Santiago beginning his penultimate lap as well. Just going to stay on the apex as best he can. That should be absolutely fine. And just keeping the car pointing the right direction. That's all he needs.
It's been a good race for everybody, though. We haven't seen any major issues. Everyone's been well behaved around each other. So I would just, I think it's fair to say that WRL has a good group of drivers that have quite promising futures. And as we get through the season, we'll see them all get better and better.
Yeah, and indeed, they probably have a personal rapport with each other. They've all started from scratch, and they decided let's have a competition and find out who's the best. So there's a lot of positive vibes around here. The drivers excited to give their hand at sim racing, and it means they're all feeling good about it.
On the final lap, Andy starts his final lap. Eduardo had looked like he closed up on Wellington, but ran wide at the hairpin. So that will look to make Wellington pretty well safe in 5th place now.
Yeah, it looked like Eduardo might have a try on the last lap, but it wasn't meant to be. He probably pushed hard to get closer and closer.
Yeah, the excitement of battle can lead to some sloppy errors, and it means that all that work is reversed as Wellington heads to the pits. Now, he did complete his first stop, so something might have gone wrong here. I'm not sure exactly what, though. Oh, he's missed the box. Wellington misses the box. Oh, he decides the front tires cannot go any further. That's a desperate situation for Wellington. So that means 5th place is now gone. Eduardo has it back.
It all stays in the team, so for team championship it's the same for them. And it gives Wellington a chance to do a normal final lap without burned up tires.
Yeah,
Andy
and now
for
ahead,
Vertex heading down the paddock back straight for the final time, and into the parabolic last turn for the final time, and Andy will be facing the checker flag after 21 laps of racing. Andy leading lights to flag. And can Andy try and set fast lap here in the last lap? Actually, for him, it would be reset fast lap, I believe. And across the line, 2:05.58. Andy winning the race and setting the fastest lap on the last lap.
Yeah, Grand Slam victory for Andy there. He had everything in his pocket there. Absolutely stupendous drive. And Mariano, unfortunately, couldn't prevent that from happening, but a very pleasing drive there, staying very comfortable despite the superiority of Andy at the front. So Mariano, very, very impressive in P2. And Santiago is next. His car is just arriving on the picture there. So great day for the Vertex duo. They finish 1-3. And there you have it. There's our podium.
Santiago coming across the line, 3rd place, 50 seconds behind. Nearly 50 seconds behind. Valentina coming down the back straight now. We have a lapped car coming across. This will be Eduardo to finish. He'll take 5th position. We'll have the last three cars coming in quick succession very shortly. Eduardo's teammate for Banco Wayports, Wellington, come out of the final corner now to take sixth position. Just behind him, Valentina to take fourth position for a second and fourth finish for the McLean Library. Vertex first and third.
That was Valentina assuring her fourth position there. Solid driving. She just needs a little bit extra pace under race conditions, and she'll definitely be competing with her teammate and the Vertex pair, Eduardo, Wellington, and finally Arthur making it across the line. So great job, everybody.
All right, well, folks, we're going to take a short break here and get set up for driver interviews. Drivers have a brief respite, and we will be back here in just a couple minutes for driver interviews. So stay with us here for the Wayports Racing League. Sorry. Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to the Wayports Racing League. Just saw the second round of the third season finished, and we are in Wayports now on the Way Tower with Andy, Mariano, Santiago. Owen's in here. Hello, gentlemen. Andy, congratulations on your win.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That was a hard piece of work. Yeah, I usually don't do any races without mistakes, and there were little mistakes, but lucky for me that they didn't bother the race, and it was a hard piece of work, I can tell you. Yeah, that guy is chasing me and hunting me. Yeah, congrats to you both.
Yeah, we were all impressed at just how fast you were, how consistent you were. How many laps of practice did you do for this round?
Oh, I think we did about the same amount of laps, Mariana and me. We had a two race session yesterday, two complete races, and I think we found consistency there. Yeah, so about we had 100 laps in total.
Practice pays off, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Andy, after you got the pole position, did you feel your qualifying pace would translate onto the racetrack itself, or did you feel I really need to make sure my strategy for the pits paid off or not?
Yeah, of course, I hoped so, but I knew there would be a lot of mistakes. There would be the cold tires in the first 2 or 3 laps, and like all the races before, Mariano would push and would try to attack. And in the practice races, in both races, he could overtake me, and it was very hard to follow him. So this was completely different today, and the luck was on my side here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, thank you, Andy. Let's turn to Mariano now. Mariano, you tried and you tried and you tried to catch Andy, but it just didn't cut it out today, did it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a boring race for me. I could only just watch Andy go. Yeah, like he said, it was really close in the practice that we did. I also, I had a chance there on the inside on lap one. I didn't want to force any contact because we had that in round one, and I wanted it to be cleaner this time. And that that was the one chance I had, and then I just couldn't catch him there.
So it's it's still early in the season. A lot of challenging tracks coming up. How do you think your chances for the remainder of the season to catch, pass, beat Andy?
Well, I mean, there's we can't tell the future, but I would like to have more time to practice. This is not ideal. My first time to hitting the track this week was on Thursday, so ideally that's not what I did before, and that's not what I should be doing. So I need to try and find more time to do that. But yeah, with Andy on the space, it's really hard. I think that I would like the old Andy back that was more unpredictable. Would sometimes give me a chance by making a mistake or two. Yeah.
And Mariano, I'd just like to know how, with Santiago breathing down your neck at the first couple of laps, how you felt you could sustain a battle not only with Andy, but making sure you didn't lose your second place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was intense. He was particularly faster than me at what was it? Turn 2 or 3. In that little section, he would always come really close. So I had to watch it. I had to really try and make a difference in the rest of the lap so that he wouldn't have a chance. And I did that. But then I don't know what happened. I didn't see him again after the pits. But yeah, that was a nice that was a nice little train we got going there. Yeah.
Yeah, very well done, Mariano. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariano. Santiago coming third place.
Hey.
You were given Mariano a challenge that first stint, but after the pit stops, it just didn't pan out for you. What happened?
Well, I know that he's faster than me, so I know that I was on third place, and I will finish on third place. I thought, but I struggled so much on some parts of the track. I didn't train them so much, so that cost me a lot of time. But there were some that I really trained that. That's why on the first 5 laps, I think I was right behind Mariano.
Hi, Santiago. Just wondering when I think it was you came across some lap traffic later into the race. What was your plan to make sure you didn't get involved in an accident and kept your third place?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I can, yeah, sorry. I think you came across a lapped traffic car. I'm just wondering how you maintained composure and avoided an accident.
Well, I really don't know. I just avoid all the problems.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so did you feel the next couple of rounds might give you a chance to compete for honors?
Well, I need to train a lot of the track. I I think I have to train a lot more if I want to be side to side with these two monsters.
Well, yeah, hopefully you can get to that standard. Yeah, I wish you
Yeah.
the best of luck, Santiago. Thanks very much.
Thank
Alrighty, thank you very much, Santiago. And Valentina, fourth place today. Good, consistent
Hey.
run. Yeah, hey, we commented multiple times during the race. You just had a good, clean, consistent run. You were pretty much so alone the whole race, so we know that had to be a bit dull, but it did really give you a chance to work on consistent lap times. It essentially just made it a hot lap session for you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was quite a lonely race for me. I was missing my main enemy, which is Ian from Lilium. So I think that's why we always have more or less the same lap time. So he was missing today. And that's why I had mostly a lonely race. I'm quite surprised. I'm not very proud of my lap times, to be honest. During my trainings, I did much better lap times. I don't know what happened to me. I did change my setup a couple of times. I also trained with a bit less fuel, so I think that might have affected my lap times, like the difference. I don't know why I never got, for example, a 2 minute 8 seconds, which was what I was getting mostly during the practice. I don't know, maybe something in the wind. Not sure, but I wasn't able to get as good lap times as I did before in the trainings. But yeah, quite consistent. didn't get out of the track that much. I was a bit scared of Eduardo for a couple of laps at the beginning, mostly. But then yeah, it was quite a chill race for me.
Yeah, Valentina, I just want to know, similarly to what I asked previously, do you think there will be a track into the rest of the season that you think you'll be strong at?
Well, I love Fern Bay. I think I got like pretty good positions during the last seasons, the previous 2 seasons. So I think I might go for that one, which is the next one, and yeah, Saturday, 14th August. So I might go, and of course some of the coming laps, the coming tracks I haven't um raced on. So I think maybe I could surprise you all. Even myself. I don't know. I wish,
Yeah,
I hope.
sounds very exciting. Thanks, Valentina.
And it's Fernbay Green next, so those are high curbs even for these tall road cars, and it just takes one shortcut, that first chicane at Fernbay Green.
Mhm.
Those tires can bounce you really easy. So, Andy and Mariano, you both, I would figure, have to be concerned about being wrecked by somebody else or by just a mistake in a high curb.
Andy has an interesting hate-love relationship with the curves there, so hopefully we'll get we'll get to see some of that.
Some mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, we are all human, aren't we?
yeah.
Well, anybody else have anything else they want to offer?
No, that's it. I think it was a good. It certainly makes for a good thing with the standings now. So looking forward to the next.
All
Yeah,
righty.
also
Go ahead, Valentin.
we it's good to have some chill races as well, because we sweat so much in some that it's also nice to have like a chill race once in a while.
Yeah, we definitely like having chill races every once in a while. I think we've all seen so many wild races. We don't need a wild Hungarian Grand Prix or a wet Spa 1998 sort of session all the time. We do need the occasional, just quiet race to, it makes the mechanics happy. It makes the budgets happy. It just, and I can tell a lot of you have great camaraderie. So you guys have a very good racing series here, and we're proud to help you guys with covering it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Alrighty, well, we shall be heading off of Wayports, so goodbye to you all.
See ya.
Owen, let's go join Zdravko back in TeamSpeak.
Yeah, will do. Jonathan, thanks very much. Hold on.
Well, number, what did you think of today's race?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was very fun race. I liked how Mariana and Santiago had to give their everything to catch to Andy. He was too fast for them today, but you really love to see people trying to beat their best to beat somebody who is at the moment faster, and I'm sure they will take that knowledge they found today and apply it to the next race and apply even more pressure to Andy.
Yep, so that ends our race here at Westhill National. 1 week's time, Fern Bay Green. Owen, as we mentioned in the interview, some high curbs to deal with there.
Yeah, I certainly know about curbs elsewhere on Fern Bay, but the challenge for the drivers is they have to avoid that tricky chicane going too far wide. It could spin them out and leave danger for oncoming cars. But yeah, a very different challenge awaits the drivers next week.
All right, well, once again, congratulations to Andy on the win today, and Mariano, Santiago, Valentina, Eduardo, Wellington, and Arthur for their good runs today. So thank you all for joining us here on Simbroadcast for the Wayports Racing League. For Zdravko Topolniak and Owen Harmon, I'm Jonathan Palmer. See you all next week.